equations with variables on the both sides. So the previous lesson we only had one variable. Well, now we're going to have two. So let's go ahead and see what that's going to look like. Here's 2-4. All right, let's say we have the equation 7n minus 2 equals 5n plus 6. All right, so we need to combine like terms and then solve for n. That's usually the steps that we're going to take. So can I combine anything? Well, I can circle my n's because they are the same. I can combine them. And I'm going to go ahead and box my constants because they are the same. So it's a lot like combining like terms that we did a couple weeks ago. So let's combine the circled ones first. I think it's smarter to move the 5n over to the 7n just to avoid getting a negative variable. So what is the inverse of a positive 5n? That would be a negative 5n. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. So this is moving that n over, canceling it on this side, dropping down that 6 because I didn't do anything with that 6. Over here I have 7n, take away 5n, gives me 2n, minus 2. Again, dropping down that 2. So now let's do the ones that I boxed originally and combine those. So what is the inverse of a negative 2? That is a positive 2. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. And again, this is just to move it over. Okay, so we get 2n equals 8. All right, now to get that n by itself, right now it's being multiplied to the n. So we're going to do the inverse of multiplication, which is division. What you do to one side, you do to the other. These cancel, and n equals 4. And again, guys, this is a great way to go back and check. Put in n for your, put in 4 for your n's. It would look like this: 7 times 4 minus 2, and 5 times 4 plus 6. You should get the same answer on each side. So this is going to be 28 minus 2, which would get me 26. This here is 20 plus 6, which gets me 26. Are these the same? Then I did it correctly. Okay, quick way you can check on a test. All right, let's do another one. Okay, I have 4b plus 2 equals 3b. All right, I have two coefficients and one constant. So let's go ahead and move the coefficients together. Now I could move the 3b, I could move the 4b, whichever you prefer. For this example, I'll go ahead and move the 3b just because it's a little bit different to do it this way. And I wind up canceling these out, which is actually a 0, bringing down my 2. And 4 take away 3 is just going to be 1, so I'm just going to put b. All right, now I need to get that constant on the other side. So what's the inverse of a positive 2? A negative 2. So I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides, leaving me with b equals negative 2. And that is my final answer. All right, let's talk about those wonderful decimal ones again that kids always seem to love. Here we go. We have 0.5 plus 0.3y equals 0.7y minus 0.3. All right, so we have some combining of like terms here to do. So we have some y's. I'm going to move this 0.3y over here. What's the inverse of a positive 0.3? It would be a negative 0.3. And again, I'm going to line up those decimals when adding and subtracting. All right. So once I add that over, these cancel. My 0.5 falls down. Okay. 7 take away 3 is going to give me 4. So that's 0.4y minus 0.3. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this constant on this side so I can get my variable by itself. The inverse of a negative 0.3 would be a positive 0.3. What you do to one side, you got to do to the other. All right, these cancel. Dropping down your 0.4y, leaving you with 0.8. All right, I'm going to divide by 0.4, divide by 0.4, and I know that 4 times 2 gives me 8, so obviously y equals 2. All right, let's try some more that are a little bit more intense, have more steps to them, let's put it that way. So let's try something like 1/2 times 4m minus 8 equals 2m minus 10 plus m. All right, let's work this out. First of all, fractions just mean to divide. 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So now that's all done. This drops down as 2m minus 4 equals 2m minus 10 plus m. Now the first thing you need to keep in mind is that before you start moving things to the opposite side of the equal sign, you need to do combining of like terms on the same side first. So look here, is there anything I can combine here? No. So this drops down. All right, is there anything on this side I can combine? Yes, I have a 2m plus an m. 2 plus 1 gives me 3m minus 10. Now I can go ahead and solve this out. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and move this 4. I'm going to add the 4 to the other side. Okay, and that should be a little bit more lined up there. My pen kind of got stuck. We've got 2m equals 3m. Negative 10 plus 4 is going to give me negative 6. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and move my 3m over. And again, friends, it does not matter who you decide to move first or where you decide to move them. Just make sure you watch your signs. These cancel. I'm going to move it over here. We get negative 6 equals, what's 2 take away 3? Negative m. A negative and a negative equal a positive. So the two negatives actually cancel each other out, leaving you the answer of m equals 6. Times 9d minus 27 equals 36 minus 3d. Okay, again, fractions just mean to divide, so let's do this first. 3 goes into 9, 3 times. 3 goes into 27, 9 times. So now I have negative 2, don't forget about that numerator here, times 3d minus 9 equals 36 minus 3d. All right, now let's do distributive property and distribute that negative 2. So negative 2 times 3 is going to give me negative 6d. And we do it to the other one also. Negative 2 times negative 9 is going to give me positive 18. Because a negative and a negative equals a positive. All right, bring down the rest. Okay. Now let's go ahead and combine our like terms. Let's go ahead, I'm going to add 3d, doing the inverse of a negative 3d, which was a positive 3d. And what I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other, which cancels these 3d's. Negative 6 plus 3 is going to give me negative 3d plus 18 equals 36. All right, what's the inverse of positive 18? We're going to get rid of that constant first. Is a negative 18. So I'm going to subtract 18 from both sides, letting those cancel. And now I'm left with, I'm going to move over here, negative 3d equals, well, can't do 6 take away 8, so this becomes a 2, and that becomes a 16, and that's 8 and 1. So I get 18. Now let's look back at our sign. We had more positives than we had negatives, so my answer is going to be positive. Now, to get that d by itself, I'm going to divide by -3. These cancel. D falls down. And 3 goes into 18 6 times. A positive and a negative equals a negative. All right, last one. We have x minus 2x plus 12 equals 6 minus 1/5 times -5x plus 10. Woo! Nice long one. All right, let's work it out. First of all, we're going to distribute this negative to everything. Okay, it's negative times 2x, which is going to be negative 2x. And then it's a negative times a positive 12, which is going to give me a negative 12. That x just fell down. That's all I had to do. Equals 6. Now, let's divide. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 10 two times. A negative and a negative equals a positive x. A negative and a positive equals a -2. Okay, that one's a little tricky. Again, this guy is not attached to that negative sign. This negative is like a -1 outside here. So you have to distribute that negative to everything on the inside. Same thing here. This negative is attached to this 1/5. So when I divided by 5, that negative came with it. So a negative gave me a positive 1x. Okay? A negative times a positive 2 gave me a -2. So that's how I got those signs. And again, this 6 just fell down. All right, let's go ahead and work this out. Is there anything on this side I can combine first? Yes. X take away 2x is going to give me -x minus 12. Because this is like 1 take away 2, which is going to be -1. Is there anything on this side I can combine? Yes, the 6 and the 2. So 6 take away 2 gives me 4. So I have x plus 4. Now, let's go ahead and combine across the equal sign. I'm going to go ahead and add x, getting rid of that negative variable. These cancel and I get -12 equals x plus x gives me 2x plus 4. Okay, let's get rid of those constants. What's the inverse of a positive 4? A -4. And what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. These 4's cancel. These are both negative, so we're going to add and keep the sign. So 12 plus 4 is going to give me a -16 equals 2x. To get x by itself, I divide by 2, divide by 2. These cancel, and x equals 8. A negative and a positive equals a negative. All right, hopefully this helps you for this lesson.